Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The guests that have come on, we really appreciate your time. This should take about 30 minutes. My name is Brett Dorney. I'm an independent LifeVantage distributor. And today I'm going to cover off the science and the products, roughly half and half. So a little bit first on the background, the science and the products, and then I will share with you about the opportunity given that this company relies on a direct selling model for its business. So let's jump in and talk about the business and the products. So to start off with, I must just warn you that this company cannot make any claims to cure, heal, prevent, mitigate, or diagnose any disease. What we're talking about today is for educational and informational purposes only. And LifeVantage distributors are independent contractors, and we are not employees, and we don't share the information on the basis of the corporation. We do that to improve people's understanding of the whole sphere of nutrigenomics and the science behind it, which you'll hear about in a minute. So I guess the context for today's presentation is about understanding what makes us healthy and what is within our control. There's this traditional model of, when we get sick, we then go to seek medical support and medical intervention to address those issues. And what we know over recent years that there's 4 key factors that put our own health directly within our control. And this is in the public domain, so some of the stuff is nothing new. Lifestyle, for example, how we live our life, how much exercise we get, how much time outdoors we spend in the sunlight, and so on. That is a key component, a key plank in terms of our overall health and well-being. The second one, which is very frustrated at the moment, given that so many of us are experiencing this current situation involving isolation, lockdown, shielding, and so on, is the importance of community and plugging in with people. The need for social interaction as human beings, it's a principal plank for us all to feel healthy. Third, the environment in which we live, and we know that the level of toxicity in our environment has been increasing generation after generation, and certainly in the last 100 years we've seen the effect of that. And finally, genetics. So until the early 2000s, we thought that was a sort of foregone conclusion, that it was really the result of our parents and the genes that we were handed down. And since that genome has been mapped in 2003, a whole new world has opened up. And that's really where we're going to focus today in terms of positioning the great science that sits behind the company of LifeVantage, and the products that it promotes. So what we know over recent years is that aging starts very, very young, right? We always thought, oh, well, that was in your sort of mid to later years in life. And in fact, we know now that many of our organs and our systems start to decline from a fairly early age, from our mid-20s onwards in some cases, and pretty dramatic reductions in some of those organs' functioning abilities over time, as you can see on the screen there. Heart as an example, bone density over time, muscle mass declining as we get older. And we've certainly seen evidence of that, and it's clearly much more noticeable as we're in our later years of life. But what we're hearing is that people need support for the following reasons. They're experiencing sleep deprivation, huge issue right now, particularly in the current situation we all find ourselves in. A need for increase in vitality, a reduced ability to cope with everyday situations, so feeling overwhelmed, brain fog and lack of concentration and ability to hold memories, memory loss, low energy and fatigue, unhealthy guts, and we know now there's a whole field of science that focuses on the gut being the second brain and the level of connectivity that's happening between our gut and our brain, and combating the effects of aging, as we were just saying. So those are key issues that people need to address. And what our company LifeVantage did is they really tackled some key questions in relation to those concerns. And this began in a lab. So the principal primary research and development scientist that started this company back in the early 2000s sits on 40 years of research, in fact, more than that, 50, 60 years of research into a particular field of science. And what we heard in the early 2000s with the mapping of the genome in 2003 is that our genes contain incredible abilities to keep our bodies healthy. Before that was thoroughly mapped, we didn't really understand the potency of our genes. But Based on all of that research from 1969 onwards from our principal scientist, original principal scientist, Dr. Joe McCord, who is an Elliott Crescent Award-winning scientist. Now, that's a big deal. He sits in an established company with people like the Wright brothers, who invented aviation, Alexander Graham Bell, the telephone, Marie Curie, some principal names. So he's in very, very esteemed company. He discovered a way to activate those abilities. In other words, to use our genes to make us healthy. We'll hear more about that now. And this sits in a particular space which is really causing some disruption, because typically we've thought about supplementing what we do in our body, right? So we go to the health store and we get supplements. And what we now know is that there's a whole other way to do that, and that's called activation. So we're disrupting that whole space with LifeVantage's products, because they're activating pathways in the bodies, switching on pathways to do things in ways that the body hasn't done since our mid-20s. So that's particularly important. So think of this as activation rather than supplementation. And the first theory of aging that the company tackled is the theory of oxidative stress and what causes it. So you can see on the screen here that the effects of oxidative stress are quite dramatic on our cells. And let me use an analogy for you. A great analogy is when you take an apple and you cut it in half and leave it on the kitchen counter, you see over a period of time how it goes really brown and quite shriveled up. Why is that? Well, it's being exposed to oxygen. There are free radicals in oxygen and they attack the apple, and you see that level of browning. Well, the same thing is happening in our cells. It's a natural consequence of us breathing oxygen, right? As a human being, we have to have oxygen, but at the same time, it's causing that level of oxidation, oxidative stress. What is oxidative stress? The imbalance between the free radicals that are attacking our cells and our body's ability to fight them off with antioxidants. We all know about the power of antioxidants. So it's that imbalance. And what causes it? Well, it comes from all sorts of sources. You can get it from technology, so Wi-Fi, cell signals, and so on, in the environment, toxins and pollutants in the environment, microwaves cause it, pesticides and herbicides, even the water we drink have some exposure to free radicals. So you could say, well, oh, I'll just exercise more, I'll be a much healthier me. No, unfortunately, because that means you breathe in more oxygen, exercise actually makes your oxidative stress worse, potentially. So there are some food for thought there in terms of those concepts. So think of that apple as we're thinking about this oxidative stress and what it's doing to our bodies. So what Dr. McCord and the team discovered after that 40, 50 years of research is that you can combine low dose combinations in a specific formula of ingredients like turmeric, which are very good for a potent anti-inflammatory, milk thistle, which is a very good liver cleanser, green tea, which is a great antioxidant in its own right, but also a good metabolizer, ashwagandha, which is a root, which is good for mood balancing, and bacopa, which is a flower for brain clarity. So he put those 5 ingredients together in a very specific formula after thousands of combinations of those ingredients, because he knew they did something called activating the NRF2 pathway. He knew that already. So it was about putting those 5 things together in a way that maximized their effect, created the synergies that you see on the right-hand side there in the graph. So those things all do it on their own, but in combination together, 18 times more effective, right? So you get an 18 times boost to if you just took those 5 ingredients on their own. So powerful stuff. Proven in science, published in 2009 in a study. So all of that it stacks up. It does as it says on the tin. Now, what is that NRF2 pathway? Well, think of that as the watchdog on the outside of your cell that wakes up, goes into the cell, once it's activated, goes into the cell and wakes up dormant genes. And those dormant genes go dormant because we age, right? From our mid-20s, we already know we're aging. So it wakes up those dormant genes, and 3 of them are antioxidants that we have in our body already. Incredible. Our body's actually got the stuff that it needs to be effective, but because we age, they start to decline with that age. So what does it do? That product then activates that NRF2 pathway, boosts the production of 3 of those antioxidants, one of which is glutathione, and that increases by 300%. And again, there's science behind that, published science to prove that. So what is it doing by activating that pathway? Well, it is creating your body's response to boost its own antioxidants. That's incredible stuff, which go off and fight free radicals. And that's amazing. And that reduces our oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days and 70% in 120 days. So you see dramatic results quite quickly. So it's fighting off those free radicals. And that's a 13 times patented formula, which means no one can copy it. It's an invention that does something that no one else can copy. Amazing stuff. So you might say, okay, great. So my body's got some antioxidants, but I eat a very highly colored, rich in antioxidant food diet, fruit, vegetables, and so on. So I'm all good. Afraid not, no, because those are secondary antioxidants. And those, for every one antioxidant that you consume, it'll go off and fight one free radical. And then it's done, right? It's all over. It's killed itself off in that fight. And so you have to consume literally millions and millions of those to be effective. And that's because secondary antioxidants have this 1-to-1 ratio. They fight one free radical and then they kill themselves off. A bit like a bee, right? So it makes the sting and then it dies. So same idea. You'd have to eat 11 pounds of blueberries, 375 oranges, 120 vitamin C tablets, and 87 glasses of red wine a day just to give you some level of defense against all the free radicals we have in our body. You think, well, how is that? Well, there's 300 septillion of those free radicals in the average body. Now, what's that number? That's 300 with 7 sets of 3s afterwards. That's an enormous number. You can't eat your way out of oxidative stress. You've got to boost your body's own production of its primary antioxidants. And that's what Protandim does. And when it was tested, it showed, and actually there's an ABC Primetime Investigative Report. If you haven't seen it, please ask to see that. It actually shows that you can't tell the blood of a 20-year-old from the blood of an 80-year-old at every age point when someone's been on Protandim for a period of time. That's incredible. So it's resetting your blood to the same as a 20-year-old. What does it do? Boost those antioxidants, and they fight free radicals on a 1-to-1 million basis, right? So they can multiply kill off free radicals, which, because they're primary antioxidants, which those secondary ones can't do. Amazing stuff. So if you're thinking, well, okay, I heard Brett say something about some science. Well, if those of you that are into research or want to do some further research, then the place to go is pubmed.gov. That's the National Library of Medicine, where all published research in the world is located. Think of it as the international library for published research. And Protandim, that NRF2 product, has got 26 peer-reviewed independent studies published on PubMed. Quite phenomenal. And that research has been carried out by respected universities and other research institutions to support the patents and to support the claims that the company is able to make. So you can see Harvard University, we've all heard of that. The American Heart Association actually sponsored some research. And then in 2015, Washington State University in the state of Washington in the US actually did a huge review into the whole field of NRF2 activation and came up with this claim that just blew my mind when I first read this study. The health effects of NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. Just let that sink in for a minute. Think about some of the other inventions that we've seen in medicine over the last 100, 200, 300 years. They say this could be even bigger than all of those. So this is big stuff. Now, the company then, having realized it's so successful at activating the NRF2 pathway with those products from the inside out, thought, well, we can also do that from the outside in. The skin is our largest organ. Whether it's the skin in our bodies or our scalp, that is our largest organ in total, right? So it's about 7% of our total weight is just our skin. So they then put that formula to bear to bring out a skincare range that fights oxidative stress from the outside in. Incredible. And it's got the same ingredients as our Protandim with a couple more just to give it the substances that it needs for the product range that we've got. And you can see over on the top right-hand corner there that there is an app called Think Dirty, which measures the toxicity, carcinogenic elements in products. And you can take that app and you can go and scan your bathroom products and just get a sense of just the level of toxicity that you're currently exposed to. And we're super proud that our skincare and our hair care, which tackles oxidative stress through the scalp, has got a rating of between 0 and 3. So 0 is perfect, absolutely nothing in it that's bad. And you'll see if you go and do that exercise that you'll be getting scores of 7 and 8, and it's quite shocking, so it's worth doing. Great clean products that do amazing things from the outside in. So with that level of science and the explosion around that, the company said, okay, what other cellular pathways are there in our body that we can use the same approach? Bring all natural ingredients to bear that activate those pathways. And so they started to look at the mitochondria. So if you remember this from your high school biology, what are they? They're the little bean-shaped elements in our cells, and there can be about 6,500 of those in a heart cell, for example, or in a brain cell. So each and every cell has got those mitochondria in it, and they are responsible for creating the energy in our bodies. 85% of all of our energy comes from our mitochondria. Now, there's an energy substance in there called ATP. I'm not going to bother you with what that means, but ATP is produced in the mitochondria. So we've got to have healthy, functioning mitochondria that are reproducing, killing the dead ones off, reproducing new ones, producing high levels of ATP. And so what the company did was they again combined ingredients, all natural ingredients, to find the right combination, low doses, that do the same thing. This is a different pathway. This is the NRF1 pathway. And that's a pathway in the cell that opens up the mitochondria and allows the NRF2 in to enable it to do its work, right? So that's quite potent stuff. And you can see how the NRF1 and NRF2 pathways work together. So that's improving your cellular health, raising your levels of energy, and basically helping your body clean up and produce its own mitochondria, dispose of the ones that are not providing any energy anymore. So it's a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. Big word, basically just means the mitochondria factory in your body. So what are the product suite that we sit here? And this is particularly today focused in Europe. And Kira, I know you're in the US. So we have these products and then a few additional ones that are available in the US that are not here. But the key products available in most markets are those activation products, Protandim, NRF1 and NRF2. Or together we call them the dual synergizer. The skin care and the hair care, which are NRF2 activator products that were born from our Protandim NRF2. And then we have a range of nutritional products, probios, omegas, weight loss products, and others that sit in that space. So that's the product range. And what do those products do? So if you were to say to me, okay, Brett, fine, move on. What's the key elements of those in terms of what they do for our body? Well, they improve our sleep. They give us more vitality. They obviously increase energy because we just talked about that. Better memory and focus, healthier hair, skin, and nails, better gut health, and anti-aging of our cells. So those are some potent benefits from those products, as you can see. So let's talk about how this company, LifeVantage, brings all of this to bear. How does it actually get the message across? Well, as I said at the start, it's a direct selling business. So it's been around for going on 18 years, 17 years at the moment. It's a biotech company founded in 2003. They had an expose done on them in 2005 by the ABC network in the US. If you haven't seen that, you must. Please go back to the person who invited you here today and ask them to share that video with you. That's a deep investigative report where the investigative reporter, John Canones, went in and tried to debunk the science and debunk the company, and actually got called short because his results of his reduction in oxidative stress showed an improvement beyond what the science showed in a period of only 2 weeks. So it's quite phenomenal. The company is listed on NASDAQ, which is the stock exchange in New York, one of the stock exchanges in New York City, and has been for some time. It's in the business of nutrigenomics. What does that mean? Nutrition, genomics, the genome. So nutrition and compounds, natural occurring compounds that affect our genes, which was what we've heard today is this is all about. And that market is expected to become a $17 billion market by 2023. So it's perfectly positioned, this company, to capitalize on that. It's grown from a very small company, less than 5 million US when it started out in the early days, to $250 million and is projected to do better. We are super proud. 86% of all of the users of our products are customers, people who just love the products and keep coming back to use the products, which is great. The great activist Erin Brockovich, who was the feature of that Julia Roberts movie some time back that she won an award for, joined our corporate board last year. And at the beginning of this year, LifeVantage was invited to come and ring the closing bell on the NASDAQ days trading on the 9th of January. Big honor, a big hoo-ha, as you can imagine, as we closed out the day's trading on the NASDAQ. The company has grown from a small biotech company in the US. It's now in 20 countries around the world. And you can just see from those pins, it stretches from North America and Mexico, right through Europe, over to the Far Eastern Asia, and even down in Oceania and Australia and New Zealand. We're still pretty small. We have under 100,000 active distributors globally. So there's a lot of opportunity here with a great bench of products to share. So what are the benefits of this business? Why was it that I really saw the opportunity with this business? Well, for me, it was a laptop lifestyle, right? So you can work from home or anywhere. I work off my phone, my iPad, my computer. I know many people who run their businesses from their phones. What do? We tell people about the products. We socially share. Of course, that's a little trickier at the moment where we are with this whole situation. But what do? We use Zoom. We use telephone calls and message platforms and so on. We have a virtual office to run our business so we can stay on top of what's happening in our business. We've got minimal business assets. There's no inventory. This is not a business where you have to hold stock, not at all. What do? We act as introducers between customers who want the products and the company that have the products, and they fulfill that. So that website is delivered by the company for you in every open market, priced in local currency, with the local products that they have available in that market, and it's shipped locally, so there's no customs and excise, which is super important. Now, this is a publicly traded company, right? So I've said NASDAQ a few times. We're also a member of the Direct Selling Association. So because of those two things, LifeVantage publishes every year its average annual income disclosure statement. And you can Google that, average annual income disclosure statement. This is the one from December 2019. What does this show? You can see that it plots at every single level in the business, and that's volume level. So for each of those ranks that you see down the left-hand side, that's a volume attached to that. So for each of those volume levels, it publishes on average what people are earning at each of those levels. And over on the right-hand side, the number of months it should take you if you put in the work diligently, you have the market conditions, and you do what's expected in terms of getting your business going. So that's great because you can plan your way through what you need to do over the next little while to get your level of income to where you need it from. So it could start over here at paying for product, for example, and pretty quickly it moves through into a relatively substantial part-time income. Might pay off a bill, pay off a bill that you're experiencing and so on. Later on, it starts to give you greater levels of income. And finally, it gets into a full-time replacement income and beyond. And you can see how long on average it takes people to do that. We say this is a 3 to 5 year plan business. You've got to have a realistic expectation of what it's going to achieve and put in the effort to do that. And it's a legacy business. This is something that you can leave to your family. And I have people in my team, for example, that are doing this to leave a legacy for their family, which is just phenomenal. So if you're saying, okay, this sounds great, Brett, but is this a good business opportunity? How do I know? So these are some of the criteria that I used. Is it a unique product? Oh yes, it's patented, 13 patents on our main product, NRF2 Protandim. Is it mass market? Yes. Does everyone benefit from using it? Everyone has oxidative stress, for example. Is it affordable? Yes, less than a cup of coffee a day. Is it backed by science? Well, no other product in this space has 26 published peer-reviewed studies on PubMed.gov, not one. Is it consumable? Yes, it is. And is it a subscription model? Of course. So you say, okay, great, I'm interested. Can I do this? What level of support is there? How do I plug in? Well, we're a global team. We're open at any point somewhere in the world all the time, and we're a good community to plug in and support. We follow a very established system of launching the business with the person and the support of the team members, learning and earning while you learn, and then stepping into leadership to help you build your business. And we do that with regular meetings and training, corporate events. There's incentives to help you do what you're doing anyway to build your business, and a great team of private support. So at the end of this, you're thinking, great, it sounds interesting. I'm sort of one of three people. I might want to do more research. I was one of those people. I want to do a bit more research. We'd send you to pubmed.gov. Go and check out the science. Go to lifevantage.com and see the average annual income disclosure statement if the business is of interest. If you're interested in the products, applying the science to your body and taking control of your health, activating your health, become a customer, at least become a customer. We're not a club. There's no fees to join, and your monthly subscription orders give you a 20% reduction in price. So that's worth considering. If you're interested in the business, you want to share the products, change people's lives, and build yourself a great legacy business, then I can confirm that that's a great opportunity to do that. And in both cases, you go back to the person who invited you here today to find out more. And I want to thank you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on here today, and appreciate your efforts in joining us. I'm going to stop recording right now, and we